Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Science of Superpowers. I'm delighted to have you with us again. We are in the middle of our Women's History Month feature. So excited about that because the Superpower Network celebrates Women's History Month and is proud to align with the 2023 theme of honoring the women who tell our stories. As more women endeavor to find their voices and share their experiences, we open pathways for others to follow. We love you, love each other. And today's episode is no exception to this, right? Exceptional information from exceptional women you've been hearing from all month. And today we're going to be hearing from a woman who shares her secrets to prosperity. But before we jump into that, we're going to activate our superpowers. Ready? You can do it at home with us, right? I'm Tonya Dawn Recla, and I have superpowers. Your turn.
I am Maria Martinez, and I have superpowers.
Brilliant. Yes, yes, we all do. And we love this notion of owning that, right? Yes, we do. And gosh, what are we going to do with it, right? What can we do with this? And so in today's conversation, Maria, let's jump in and say, what are your superpowers and how are you using them for good?
Beautiful. That's a powerful question. So, my superpowers are empowerment or inspiration, motivation, holding space for others to step into their own powers and in their own awareness of their potential, their human potential, and to create space for awakening and activating those superpowers to create more in their lives.
Mm, beautiful. I love that. And it's a big movement that a lot of us are in the midst of. If you haven't picked up on it, folks, I mean, we've been at this since 2016 formally, but years before that, and many of you decades and decades prior to that, leading up to this time where we can openly say, hey, I think we're in for a big transition here. Like something's happening, something's changing, right? And that's why I think it's really important that we tell these stories, that we share how we got here, because those paths are different. And so I love, Maria, the space that you've created around prosperity, around the notion that we're so much bigger than we give ourselves credit for. Talk a little bit about how you stepped into this space. What was your journey into that as you help others with their journey toward prosperity?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of times we teach from our own experience, right? So, I my journey earlier on was very much of lack and scarcity because that's what I learned. That's what I knew. Even though our even beyond our parents or grandparents, there was money available, but the mentality was about lack and scarcity. And
Mm,
when I went into corporate America, that opened up sort of a new field of creating. Like you can create as much as you want, especially when you're working off of commission. So that really got me into the space of it's up to me, right? I can create as
mm,
much as I desire. It's how I show up in the world. It's my intention. It's how I serve. Is the value that I bring. And that created sort of an opening for me to step into more possibility and more prosperity and then work through my own stuff of unworthiness and undeservingness and clear some of the ancestral stuff that I was carrying connected to lack and scarcity and unworthiness and undeservingness, even poverty consciousness. So
mhm,
working through all of that, and of course that had some impact in my life, my relationships, and even my health. When I
mm.
wasn't paying attention to how I was valued myself, my self-worth, my body was telling me that, it was my body was creating inflammation. So moving into autoimmune disease. And so I had to listen. I had to listen to my body and look at what's really going on here and look at my level of happiness and my level of joy, which is connected to my self-worth and my value and who I am in the world and what I'm here to do. So I really had to step back and look at that, look at how am I living? Am I living in alignment with who I am?
Mm.
Am I really expressing my gifts? The work that I do, it is around empowerment and energetic work and human potential and activating the chakras and all of that. And I from a very early age, I was able to connect with angels and with guides. So I was already aware of what's beyond the 3D, what's beyond the illusion, but I
Mhm.
wasn't really integrating. And it was not until like 2010, 2011 that I really started looking at my alignment, my purpose, my mission. What am I here to do in the world? And coming back to the space of wholeness, coming back to the space of loving myself, accepting myself for who I am, and really allowing myself to truly own my power and then also be a model, like a model for my kids, for my family, for my friends, and really step into being a way shower of this is available to everyone. This is available. If you choose, it is yours. And why not choose and why not step into that space?
Brilliant. I love that you mentioned family and lineage and ancestry and children and being a mother. And we're going to dive into that after the break, folks, because Marie and I met at an event where Neva was presenting, and the conversations there with her presence was like, wait, what's possible? And it sort of allows all of us to go, wait, what if it was possible when I was that age? And what if,
Hmm.
what if, what if? And when we're able to see those programs and we're able to see the conditioning that we carry forward, we start to move ourselves to a place of greater choice. And when we work with our children in that capacity, truly miraculous things happen.
Hmm.
So we'll touch into that when we come back from the break. Maria, before we go to break, where can people go to find out more about you?
Yes, you can come to my website, 360prosperity.com, and there's just a whole slew of information there on health, on prosperity, on activating your superpowers, just a lot of information on human potential and stepping into your magnificence.
Brilliant, brilliant. And thank you again. And a big shout out to Debbie Dashinger for connecting us. I love that. Debbie's a phenomenal connector. So if you know Debbie, then you know a lot of people. So Debbie, shout out to you. Thank you so much. You bring us some amazing guests over here, and of course, connecting us back in with Maria. So thank you for that. And to all of you out there, thank you for listening. Make sure you go jump over to superpowerexperts.com. We're going to come back right after this break because Maria Martinez is sharing her secrets to prosperity, and you're not going to want to miss them. Stay tuned, and we'll be right back. Awesome. We're back. You're listening to the Science of Superpowers, and Maria Martinez is here sharing her secrets to prosperity. And before the break, we connected those into family and ancestry. And for those of us, I think, who've been in the personal development consciousness spaces for a while, like this is not a secret, right? Your beingness is connected into your family, right? And I think sometimes we don't always think about that. Sometimes we only think about it when we're thinking about our personal development or transformation. We're not considering it in the moment, maybe when we lose our cool with our kids, or when we say the thing that we don't actually believe, or when we get irritated when we'd rather be loving and gracious, right? Like all of those things that happen when those programs kick in, that is the conditioning. And once you're in the conditioning, it's really challenging to come out, right? SIFA allows for that. SIFA trains us how to bring ourselves out of it. SIFA trains us how to not get into it, right? Making sure that we remember how to go back to that space of calm and connectedness before we take action. But that's just not the norm, right? Like a lot of us are reacting, and especially as chaos ensues or as things heat up. And in the home, this is where we spend most of our time with the people we love the most, right? And so it's a nice little petri dish for all kinds of human behaviors to come forward. How do you manage things like this in the home when it's like there's a delicate balance between the living and the being, and then the improving of the living and the being. As a mom, how do you walk with that? How do you
Mm.
how do you hold that for the people that you care for?
Wow, that's a really good question, and it's also a very interesting question because a lot of what I've been doing and recommend is communication, and it's sort of creating a space. Really taking time to communicate with your loved ones about the beingness and the space that you want to create of respect, communication, open communication, and trust. And when there's an understanding of, I, and especially with our children, right? We're here as a parent to help them, to support them, to bring out the best of them, to help them step into their best self. And if they understand that, which is the many conversations I have with them, I'm here, you chose me, I chose you to be on this journey together. And this is my responsibility, as the guide that you chose me. And this is my responsibility as mom. And this is my responsibility as a parent. And we go through the different roles that I play for them, and then the space that we're creating for them to thrive, to express themselves, to feel free to be themselves, and to explore more of
Mhm.
themselves, and really allow those parts to step out. And sometimes that's trying different things. Sometimes that's doing different activities together. Sometimes it's just sitting and having conversations together. But having that sort of initial foundation of, this is who I am here for you.
Mhm.
This is why you chose me to be here for you. And my goal is for you to succeed in life as you. And I have three children that are very different from each other. So I said, you're here to be you, you're here to be you, and you're here to be you. And that is my
Mhm.
role, to make sure that you have the space to fully express yourself, the space to be you and uncover more of yourself, uncover more of your potential, to uncover your gifts and your talents, and then learn how to express them in the world. And as you move forward, learn more of yourself, and then learn what you love to do. And then
Mhm.
continue with that, continue with your passion and your purpose. And that's about trying different things. So again, stepping out, taking risks, without judgment. Just like, I'm going to try this for today, and I'm going to try, see how that feels to me, see how much I enjoy that. Without any reservations, without any stories about it, just getting out there and trying different things. So again, it's the foundation, it's the communication, it's the space, it's again, it's the openness and that communication, and the trust and respect that we have for each other.
Beautiful. And I know that that's not what we typically think of when we think of prosperity, right? And this is the kicker. Those are the very foundational elements of how we interact with the world, how we interact with ourselves, how we interact with others, our relationship with the very notion of creation, our relationship with the notion of the world, with our realities, with our positions as creators. All of that culminates into what then gets depicted as our prosperity picture for our lives, right? When we distill that down to something like money, one, we cheapen ourselves. We're robbing
Mhm,
ourselves of the
mhm,
very essence of our creative ability, right? It's
mhm,
it's actually, if I was prone to insult, I'd say it was insulting, but it's got that vibe to it,
right.
right? And so you have that element at play where it's the opposite typically of what we would think to do, right?
Mhm,
Like, oh, I don't things aren't going well. I need more money. I need more of this. Oh, I'm going to pause and turn around and look at myself.
mhm,
Well, I don't have the money, so why would I be looking at myself, right? I got to go look where the money is. And here's the kicker, folks. If you can remember that very statement, if you're here and you think whatever it is that you're seeking is somewhere else,
mhm,
then you are the problem. Like it is with you because all you can do is move you.
mhm.
That's all you can
Absolutely.
do, right? You can influence, you can attract, you can do all kinds of things, but that's impossible if you don't know who you are. If you don't have any
Exactly.
trust within yourself, if you don't know how to communicate with the people you love the most
Mhm,
about things like, oh wow, that didn't feel good just then.
mhm.
Or maybe that's not true for me. Maybe I see things differently, or I don't know, I kind of had this experience. Have you had that experience? Right? Gosh, it'd be nice if we had a place to go where we could just ask some questions from time to time,
Mhm,
right? That's home. That's family. That's the place where those things can happen in the most natural way when we cultivate those environments. And so if you want to know how to do that, make sure you're checking out Maria's work or getting over to Superpower Experts, jump into the Master Your Personal Power class, do whatever you need to do because if the results that you're getting back aren't working for you,
mhm.
then you probably got to change something, right? And so I love that we're bringing this back to the very foundational element where we all start from whence we came, right? We were programmed from jump
Mhm.
to be a kind of way, but we get to be in choice when we know how to manage those programs. And so, Maria, as you work with clients, and you make that transition from home into client work and into the world, and it's kind of an art, right? I believe that what you're talking about, that very nature of the different roles and speaking to them, we train in that too, because it's a really helpful model then as you go out into the world and you want to do more things, right? Part of prosperity is not having to sacrifice aspects of yourself for
Absolutely.
others. How do you have it all? Right. And so that technique that you were talking about in the home, can you speak a little bit about how you do that in terms of, work with clients and then podcasting and then, kind of developing your craft? Like how do you
Mhm.
use that in a real practical way in the world to
Beautiful.
develop this picture of prosperity for yourself?
Beautiful. And you made a statement that is exactly what the focus is having it all, right? So we create the environment of having it all because it is possible for us to have that all. And the foundation to having it all starts within us, which you also mentioned. And that is reconnecting with who we are. So when I work with clients, the goal is to feel balanced, to feel happy, to feel joyful, to access their full potential, to contribute to the world, to have loving relationships, deep connection, to have abundance and prosperity. So that's having it all. So we go back to, well, how do you get to that place of having it all? Well, all of that is already available to you. It's actually already within you.
Mhm.
You are the center of that. So we come back to that. And what happens, when we move away from that, we create separation. And that separation, that gap is the triggers, the struggle, the all the other emotions that get in the way, all the mental programs that get in the way. So we move back, we clear what's in the gap to back to the alignment. And then in that movement, we're also elevating the vibration. We're also awakening more of the individual. We're awakening ourselves to more. We're moving through our ascension. We're collapsing timelines. We're moving into different timelines. And the overall theme is prosperity, but is connection with yourself, because you're creating everything. You're moving into self-mastery. You're contributing in a different way. You're loving yourself in a different way, or more deeply. You're accepting yourself. You're forgiving yourself. You're trusting yourself. You're embodying your value, your self-worth. You're seeing others with loving compassion and unconditional love. So who you are is becoming more balanced. Who you are is remembering your truth. Who you are is being activated. And in that activation, your bandwidth and your capacity is expanding. Your view of the world is expanding. Your energy is overflowing. So you're able to do more, attract more. You're able to access more of that wisdom and contribute from that wisdom. So you're moving into the place of having it all. You're moving into the place of life is working for me. You're moving into the place of life is joyful and I'm happy. And then choice, because that's where it starts, right? I choose to be happy. I choose to know myself. I choose to be aligned with who I am. So that powerful choice is being made in that choice of having it all, in that desire or intent to have it all. So you're sprinkling love, you're sprinkling value, you're sprinkling contribution, you're sprinkling higher connection and higher consciousness to every area of your life, and you're coming back into that place of I am. And from that place of I am, then you're super powerful. You're embodying your power. You're embodying everything that you are. Life is amazing. You're in overflow of abundance. You're in overflow of energy and love, and prosperity is just aligning. It's unfolding for you.
Beautiful picture, beautiful. And folks, for those of you playing in the advanced courses, like imagine it this way, like the field's moving through you all the time, right? So the lighter you become, the more of your life review you're willing to do now, the more you're willing to allow to get reimagined and inspired through you as those memories come forward, the more you're able to align and connect into the field, right? To stay in that connected space as the field moves you, right? You're like, oh, hang on, right? And as you hold that intention, that core, while allowing the energy to flow through you and move you, that's how you learn to move through the field, right? And you lighten up, you connect, right? You advance in your ability to process, right? All of it makes sense when we start to put it all together, right? Our energetic systems become more advanced. We could become more aware of the complexity of them. We're able to hold that. We do the lightening up work, the reprogramming, the ancestral cleaning, all of that stuff happens, right? And what it does is it gets us ready for this beautiful place where we can hold ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
right? We hold our form and we move, we fly. That's how
Mm-hmm.
you do it all, right? You're going faster, right? The field moves, it's light, right? It moves at the speed of light, it's very fast. And so to ride those waves, folks, you got to train. Don't
Mm-hmm.
expect to be able to jump into that and not get, right? If you're not training, and we mean training, like energetic training, right? Preparedness training, catching yourself in lazy thinking, catching yourself in emotional reactions, catching yourself in physical responses that you don't really want to be expressing into, feeling yourself in your vibrational level so that you know what your intentions are and
Mm-hmm.
you know what you're creating with, right? Because everybody else does. We can all read it. You might as well know what you're doing down there. And all of that comes together to enable us to take advantage of that kind of an existence. And it's there. And you know
Mm-hmm.
it's there. And that's what it keeps us going, right? That's why all of us are jonesing for this stuff of like, hey, I actually don't know what jonesing is. I have to stop. I don't know the derivation of that word. Darn it. So I'm going to look it up. we're going to table jonesing until I figure out what the heck, where derivation came from. I have no idea. So now I got to see where it came from. So I'm going to go look that up. I encourage you to also. Not sure we're going to keep using it. We'll figure that out later. Totally threw me off track. So I will just wrap up and say, Maria, thank you so much for being here. And are there final thoughts that you would like to share with our folks just to inspire that we can do this, right? We can, it is worth opening your eyes and just holding that lighted vision, even when it feels impossible, even when it feels like the world is incredibly unfair to you.
Mhm.
You have choice. What you got for Maria? Let's give them something.
Absolutely. And choice is the first step to creating. The next step to creating your life is really embracing you, because a lot of times we look outside. It's really embracing you and being okay where you are at this moment in time. When you become okay where this is the platform, then you can leap from that. So embrace wherever you are in this moment because it's perfect. That's where the lessons are. And when you can do that, then it becomes easier to move forward. It becomes easier to allow more, and it becomes easier to create and manifest for yourself. So be okay where you are because where you are is perfect. It's perfect for you to leap forward. And remember to leap forward. Beautiful.
I love that. Well, and
Blessings to
thank you,
everybody.
Maria. Yes, to everybody. Maria, thank you so much for joining us, especially during Women's History Month, especially in terms of how you tell your story, how you're telling your story to your children, how you're allowing them the freedom to discover their own stories. Maria,
Thank
a
you.
grateful
Thank you.
world thanks you for your willingness to spend that kind of time and creative energy and attention with your children because it matters to all of us. So thank you.
Thank you.
And
Thank
and
you.
grateful that you're able to and that you have figured out how to be able to do that. It's not easy. Um, yes, so thank you. And to thank you to all of you out there who endeavor in your own ways, in your own spaces, with your own people, just encouraging them to love themselves more and to shine that light. And you shine that light when they can't see it for themselves. For all of you in those tireless pursuits, we thank you. And just know that we here at the Superpower Network are in your corner and we're here to support you. So jump in anytime you need a little boost. Connect with us if you need a reminder of who you are. And if you'd like to train and practice, get over to superpowerexperts.com, get started in the Master Your Personal Power course. And check out SIFA. If you really want to know how to play in the field, folks, you're going to need some training. We welcome you there. And until next time, folks, we love you, love each other. Goodbye for now.
Thank you.